What's up, guys? It's your boy Sancho Destroyer, and I'm here with a brand new what if. What if Naruto and Sasuke were brothers? Yes, this is probably the most ambitious what if I've ever done, and it's probably going to end up being the hardest because of how convoluted and how many major changes I need to make to the Naruto story. So let's just get into some background real quick. So I was just assuming in order for Naruto to still be the reincarnation of Ashura, Sasuke still be the reincarnation of Indra. If they're gonna be related, I just said why not just make the parents Kushina and Fugaku because it just makes the most sense in my opinion. I feel like it'll make sense later on in the story as Kushina is Uzumaki and Fugaku is Uchiha. So you can get Naruto's kind of Ashura because you have to have Uzumaki lineage and Sasuke can still be Indra because of the Uchiha lineage. And I just think Kushina would still keep the Nine Tails because she would have never had it extracted from her due to the fact that Fugaku was the father and he stated in the Itachi Hida novels that he was confident that his Mangekyo Sharingan can control the Nine Tails. So I don't think it'd ever be extracted like what Obito did in canon. And with that change happening, I believe Minato wouldn't have to focus on the village and Obito at the same time. I think he'd either be able to defeat Obito to the point where Obito would have to retreat, or he would be able to capture Obito. But for the sake of the story, let's just say that Obito retreats. And also, both Kushina and Minato are alive in this situation. Now, Itachi is the wild card because I just believe he would just stay in the village as he would never need to slaughter the clan because that he would not have been forced, that ultimatum would have never been forced upon him because they would have never had a bad rep from the QB attack as it never would have happened. I do believe, however, Shishui would still die, which leads to Itachi getting his Mangekyo Sharingan. And just because Sasuke and Naruto are just reincarnates of Ashura and Indra, and you could say that ever since they were in the womb, they've been somewhat sharing chakra and stuff. You could make the case. So this is just a bold statement, but this is a what if that. So I'm gonna claim creative liberties that they could have started the process of awakening the Renegon since they're both Uchiha and they both sharing Ashura and Indra chakra with each other. It just makes sense that they would start awakening it maybe a decade or two, half decade, 2 decades, who knows. So during the academy days, it stays mostly the same. They both work really, really hard to gain the approval of their father, Fugaku, mother, Kushina, brother, Itachi, and Sasuke and Naruto were just the two at the top of their class. And this is also a side note, Naruto's entire fighting style would not be based off of Shadow Clone Jutsus, but just based off his personality, he would still use Shadow Clone Jutsus a lot, but it wouldn't be his only move in his arsenal. So he would use Shadow Clones because I would assume Itachi or Fugaku taught them to him. And as for nature affinities, as of right now, Naruto has affinity of wind and fire. Sasuke has affinity for lightning and fire, like he did in the canon. And Naruto and Sasuke, I just decided to give them identical stats because they literally they don't fight the same way, but in terms of skill wise, they're literally the same because they have the same intelligence. They basically had each other the entire time. Had Itachi, had Fugaku. They've had all these ample resources around them to basically beef up their stats, and they're both way stronger than they are in canon. They're like generational type prodigies, both of them. Even Naruto, who's seen by most as being less skilled than Sasuke, is still seen as a generational prodigy. He just doesn't pick up on things as fast as his brother does. So, so now as we get to graduation, Team 7 is still formed because I just see no reason that the teamwork of Naruto and Sasuke would just be overlooked. So I think they'd have to be put on the same team. So Team 7, Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura is still formed. Um, the bell test is the first change is Naruto and Sasuke would have already well had uh, their Sharingans by now. Would have basically just they would have not have rushed Naruto would not have rushed Kakashi like in canon. He's not that like dumb anymore in this situation. I think he would have waited with Sasuke, maybe created a plan or something, they would have forced Kakashi to definitely use much more effort than he did or than originally, using powerful combos, wind style jutsus, fire style jutsus, ultimately pushing Kakashi on the defensive. But I don't think it would be enough to essentially take him out. I think Kakashi would still pass them though, because they would use Sakura's sort of a diversion, because she can't really contribute anything much to a battle other than setting traps and stuff, and she can't do hand to hand combat that much except for her occasional haymakers, which are practically nullified in a situation like this. So they still pass because of the teamwork, and basically everything goes back to normal until the land of waves, which in this case Tazno can't really make fun of anyone, because they're all nourished and stuff. Naruto wasn't short and malnourished like he was in the canon. So between the D rank missions and Land of Waves, I'm making the assumption that Naruto and Sasuke have awakened their second Tomoe Sharingan each and can readily just use it and access it as at will, due to the fact that they have their father, brother, and brother to train with, and each other, which is the best training. So basically everything goes the same way until they meet Zabuza. And since the Uchiha clan massacre never happened, Sasuke would not have known what bloodlust feels like, and Naruto would not have known either, because he didn't have Kurama inside of him. But I guess you could make the case that they would be able to save themselves from being chopped in half by Zabuza, due to the fact that I believe Kushina may have gotten mad at them during more than a few occasions. So I think they'd be prepared for any sort of emulant bloodlust from the Nine Tails. Maybe some chakra leaked out or something. So they save Kakashi from the water prison using the same demon shuriken tactic that they did in canon. And when Kakashi eventually wraps up with Zabuza, Haku comes in and kills, I put that in quotes, Zabuza, and just takes Zabuza's body off and just leaves. I don't think anyone would know to question Haku. I mean, Kakashi may think about it, Sasuke and Naruto may be suspicious, but I think they just eventually just let Zabuza go off. So, back to normal is we have the training, which in the same order gets it. Sakura gets it first, and Sasuke, and finally Naruto. Naruto gets it so late because he's the reincarnation of Ashura, and he doesn't pick up on things as fast as his brother does. So he's still there, has the same talk with Haku about precious people. And due to Naruto just being Naruto, I don't know if Naruto would know or just recognize Haku based off the chakra signature. I guess if he had his Sharingan on during the end of the fight or not. But that's just really up for assumptions. But let's just say he doesn't recognize Haku. So them two just part ways. And then Team 7 continues to escort Tazuna across the ridge. And once they meet Zabuza and Haku, I believe that's then and there when Naruto would recognize, hey, that's the boy from the forest that I met. And then now it's Sasuke and Naruto versus Haku, and then Zabuza versus Kakashi. Now this is where the canon needs to be compared to this continuity. Even though Naruto did have the Nine Tails in the original canon, this version of Naruto is much more skilled. He has good chakra reserves, not as much as he had in the canon, but good chakra reserves, and has a 2 Tomoe Sharingan that he can use a lot. Same with Sasuke. Sasuke doesn't have that awkward 1 Tomoe in one eye, 2 Tomoe in the other one that's just imperfect and just beating away at his stamina. So I think, and Sasuke and Naruto, just as I said before, just overall much more skilled than we're in canon, since Sasuke actually has a family to train around, has Itachi, Fugaku, and his mother to teach him various jutsu. So I do believe that with extremely, extremely high difficulty, that Sasuke and Naruto would manage to subdue Haku. Not necessarily even kill, just subdue Haku. So once that happens, I think Zabuza would get the lightning blade shoved through his chest. Zabuza would die. And then right there, I think Haku would just break down and start crying, because he would just mutter to himself or just scream out loud that he doesn't have a purpose anymore. And then Naruto would give him a Taku no Jutsu and say, oh, you do have a purpose. Not just because you lost one purpose doesn't mean you can't find another. And then Naruto says, "Oh, come back to the Hidden Leaf Village. This is a village you could really help in. We could be really use someone like you with your assets and your skills, and you would find another purpose there." So I think that's when Gato arrives with his men. And I think at this point, after seeing Zabuza die and hearing what Naruto says, and then what Gato has to say about seeing Zabuza's dead, make some remark about Zabuza's dead corpse, I think that would either send Kakashi into Bloodlust Fury or Haku into Bloodlust Fury. But I'm just gonna say it's Haku just because it just seems cooler to just to just picture a scene with Haku just creating ice mirrors all around Gato and his men just slaughtering all, just jumping from ice mirror to ice mirror, taking out 2 or 3 goons at a time, and eventually just killing everyone, and then just viciously just murdering Gato. And then Haku would probably collapse from chakra exhaustion, so would Naruto and maybe Sasuke, so Kakashi and Sakura would just take them to the like an inn, Tazuna's house, where they finish it. It would be still known as the Great Naruto Bridge, and Haku with them would go back to the Leaf Village. He would Minato, I think, would let him in because Minato's just a super nice guy and just really laid back and stuff. I think Minato would know not to put him in the Anbu because he knows what Danzo can do to children. But I think Minato would allow Haku to become a Chunin, or take the upcoming Chunin exams as his own team, because I don't think there'd be enough Genin rolling around for him to just place him on a team magically. So yeah, now we're about to get into the Chunin exams, and that's where I'm going to stop for today. If you liked it, comment, share, like, and subscribe. I'm always love to have discussions, and I'm a Santos Destroyer, and I'm out.